Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Auburn Planning Board meeting of Tuesday, December 11th, 2018, now called to order at 7 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and broadcasted live by Local Access Programming. Is there anyone here in the audience tonight that is recording tonight's meeting? There being none, please rise and join us in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, why don't we do the minutes right now, because we have a few minutes to the 7:05 hearing. Any questions from anyone on the board on the minutes of 11/27/18?
I made a motion, actually.
Okay, John?
I make the motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second?
Is it in here? It's already in there.
Charlie, you can try.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, there's a vote. Next meeting is going to be January 8th, 2019, at which time we will reorganize. Signatures, Adam?
None.
Rules and regulations for special permits and site plan approval. We probably won't do those until the next meeting. That what you gave us last week?
I can
Okay.
tell you what, and I included amended copies in your paperwork today. I presented the rules and regs, what we're trying to do to the DCG group last week, so the department heads can kind of review and look over it. So I'm going to hear some comments. I've got comments already from a couple people. The Law District, Rachel sent me some comments, and we're going to hear back from some more by the next DCG meeting, which is next week. So hopefully we can get these, I'd like to get these, if possible, voted on, presented for your vote. The second January meeting needs to be public hearing, so we'll have to advertise. So hopefully we'll have something in place, and hopefully I'll have some feedback from you all in the next few weeks.
Okay, no signatures, no regulations, just on. Next meeting is January 8th.
Charlie's next. Charlie's next. I'll make the motion.
Any board members have anything at this time?
I don't really have any. I just got the rules and regs. I also, another comment on the rules and regs. I'm going to be talking with Caleb and Darlene about the fees. The fees, I've been comparing the fees to what the other towns do, and our fees are well below surrounding towns, less than half in some cases. So I'm going to work with Darlene, Caleb, and Julie to see if we can get something that we can present for you all at that second January meeting to see if we want to increase the fees to make us more comfortable to the surrounding towns. Not necessarily higher than the surrounding towns, but at least kind of a happy medium.
Sounds good.
So we gotta wait till 7.
Yeah, you gotta wait.
How did that get on there? Dick, you'll tell us when it's 7:05.
Yeah, we have about 45 seconds. I'll agree to those.
That's why I don't want to send the bill over here, because that's what you just
I remember to keep it inside the line, it still is this.
The official time is 7:05.
Mass, right, we already knew that. The last thing I recall was that there was another one.
First public hearing is a 7:05 applicant. At 7:05 PM, the applicant is Masad Family LLC, a request for site plan approval under section 6.7 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for the expansion of a dealership parking lot and vehicle storage on property located at 24 to 28 to 30 Faith Ave. This has been continued from November 27th, 2018. Is the applicant?
Well, my name is Zachary Bless. I'm from Existing Grade. I'm the design engineers. And to kind of give you a quick summary of where we're at, the last plans that I presented at the last meeting had went to Mr. Coyle for review. And we got 4 comments back from him, which I have summarized in a response letter that I submitted to you today. The only real, well, I can go over just really quickly the 4 of them that he brought up. One of them was the chain link fence around the top of the drainage pond. We had proposed putting a thorny rose bush at the bottom of it. He said that that would not be needed because we are going with the chain link fence. So that one of the changes that we made is to remove the thorny rose bush from the bottom of the fence, and if the client would like to add those later, we can plant those in at a later time.
Can you describe a little better?
Sure.
Chain link fence, exactly what you're talking about?
Sure. Yeah, that was one of the other ones. One of the comments is I have a 4-foot-high black vinyl coated,
The standard zigzag diamond.
yeah, just the standard mesh chain link fence.
As some people call the rectangular slots, chain link.
Sure, yes, and I do have the construction detail on what we are proposing. It'll be on the same plans that you folks have from the last time, down on sheet 5 in the bottom corner, just again, the standard 4-foot-high mesh chain link fence. It'll be black vinyl coated as we discussed to kind of help it blend in and not stand out so much. So that was one of the comments. The other comment was in regards to the outlet for the drainage pond. Turns out I did not have the most recent design plan from Waterman Design. So I do have the most recent plan in here that we superimposed our design on top of to show that our drain line will only cross their proposed drain line running down what is to hopefully be the abandoned portion of Faith Avenue. We are going to have one section which we cross that pipe. And in my response, I provided that we are going to have greater than a 1-foot vertical clearance between the 2 pipes, so there will not be an elevation conflict in that crossing. And then anything outside of that, we don't touch any other utilities for the entire length of that run.
That's the stormwater from the new parking lot,
Correct.
which is going to be adjacent to Faith Baptist Church.
Correct. The church is on this property over here. This is the new section of Faith Avenue, where the old section came up and it wrapped around the existing dealership. In our pond, we're going to be going from an outlet control structure into a drain manhole, and then we're going to be pushing it west down what is hopefully again to be the abandoned portion.
Section. And you'll go down and then take a little bit of a curve and it drops down into
Correct.
a hollow that's down there.
So again, the property is right over in this corner. We're going to be coming down this section and then making a couple sweeps with it to get it down into a large wetland replication area that's taking place down there. And again, the only real concern that Mr. Coyle had on this was this one crossing. And again, I have provided in my comments that we do have over a foot separation between the 2 pipes, so there will be no elevational conflicts there. And the only other comment was just detail for the illuminated crosswalk sign. And I provided a cut sheet last time, but I have added that into the design plans, which is right here. It's going to be a solar-powered, push-button actuated crosswalk where the lights will flash when somebody hits it to really grab drivers' attentions in that area. And it's MUTCD compliant.
So what happens if it's been cloudy for 2 weeks?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I just know that Mr. Coyle has said that a solar-powered one would be acceptable for him in that location. So again, that's what we're proposing.
Just make a note. I want to hear that he said that. I just want to.
So you added it to that plan? I don't see it on this plan.
Well, we've got the,
I do have
Comments
these.
today.
These I made those. It's so again, I do have some small copies if anybody would like them.
Here's my problem. We're in a meeting, we're supposed to have this stuff ahead of time, and you want to come in here and have us make a decision on this tonight, when none of us had a chance to look at it.
I mean, again, it's the same plans that I've submitted
No, it's
last
not,
time with
because
just the
You have
minor
a drain
changes.
crossing now, and you don't have a detail on how you're going to cross that drain. I don't know if you're using stone, flowable fill, whatever, I have no idea.
It's gonna be the standard construction practice for crossing drain lines.
And that is what?
I mean, normally you do crushed stone, you backfill with crushed stone, and then use that to be able
And
to
when you
support
use
that
crushed
pipe.
stone, you can't compact under the pipe, and the pipe that you're crossing breaks. That's what happens in the standard practice. Believe me, I know. So when we get these plans the day of the meeting or the night I walk in, it may not be much of a change, but I go through the details. And I don't see a detail in here for the crosswalk. And you have it out there in a big plan, I can't even read it from here. And I'm not gonna take the time and hold everybody else's time up here because you brought it in at the last minute. I just don't think it's fair to us or the townspeople.
Yeah, we've said if we don't have anything on the Thursday prior to the meetings, we will not review it.
Okay.
Even the stuff that we got added in tonight. And it's the same for everyone, because it's nothing against you, it's just what's fair to everybody here, including the board, those that are waiting in the audience for their project, and we're gonna start reading it, and, you know, you're also nervous because you know people are waiting and everything else. It's so.
make a motion to continue. Chad,
Second.
Is everybody in favor of continuing?
Yep.
the next meeting is January 8th.
Correct.
Just wanted to ask a question about the solar side, crosswalk.
Oh,
If for the next meeting, you could just get us if it really does, if it is, cloudy for 2 weeks.
Sure.
So like that, what's the impact on it? I mean, if you have an idea, but just I'd like to get that.
Okay.
I
What was
appreciate
that
it.
question, Nick? How long?
Well, I just wanted to know if it was, like we had said, cloudy for 2 weeks, and it is a solar crosswalk.
No, is there a battery
Is
in
there
it?
less
Do you know that
aluminum?
like
I'm sure
holds
there's
some
some sort of
power?
battery.
There's a
Yeah.
capacitor in them, but I'll get that information for you.
Just out of curiosity,
just
just for
bring
lack
it
of
in, yeah.
knowledge. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I agree. So this is kind of, not looking at it. I saw it come in something. Probably on a vote.
Dick, is it 7:10?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Next public hearing is a 7:10 public hearing. The applicant is A&N Realty Trust. A request for site plan approval under section 3.2.7.1 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for a stone and granite retail display and sales establishment on property located at 872 Southbridge Street, Auburn, Mass. This is the one that we used.
Yeah, that one.
That's what I just. Too much.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Zach Couture with HS&T Group. We are land surveyors, civil engineers based out of Worcester. I'm here tonight representing A&N Realty Trust for 872 Southwood Street. The general project involves the construction of a two-story, 1,500 square foot building that will be used for sales and display of stone and granite material. There will also be an 18-car parking lot as well as an outdoor gravel display area to display the stone and gravel. Currently, the site is vacant. I know from the picture up there, it shows the greenhouses, but that has all since been removed. As you can see, it was home to the Teddy Bear Farm Nurseries. But as it currently sits, it is vacant. For stormwater for the site, it will be mitigated through a pipe system, which will include a storm scepter water quality unit, and that will flow through a grate inlet within the storm scepter and into a subsurface infiltration system. Hay bales and silt fence will be placed down gradient of all construction activities, and that will serve as the limit of work for the project. Silt sacks will be placed in Southbridge Street to the front of the site prior to any construction activities, as well as a construction entrance will be placed to prevent any kind of sediment or anything going into Southbridge Street. The applicant was granted relief through the zoning board to allow the use within the highway business zone. That's what triggered us coming here for site plan approval. We filed a notice of intent with the Conservation Commission and as well as Mass DEP, as work will be done within the buffer zones to the wetlands located to the rear of the property. So we did receive a letter to be reviewed by Graves Engineering. I do have that signed and I do have the check. So this is obviously in the earlier stages, but we figured it'd be good to come here, open it up, maybe get some questions or concerns from the board itself. So when we do receive that review letter from Graves, we can kind of finalize everything before we come back in front of you guys. So if I could submit that to you, Adam. Thank you. We did receive a couple comments from...
Excuse me for a minute.
Sure.
Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
We did receive a couple comments from Mass DEP already, mostly regarding the drainage. They want us to move the drainage system over a little bit just to make sure it's outside of the 50-foot buffer, which we will do as part of our next plan set that's in front of you guys. Also some soil testing out there, which we did perform to establish groundwater out there just to make sure there's enough clearance for our infiltration system. So with your next plan set, you'll see all that information all compiled together. With that, I'd like to just open it up to the board for questions, concerns, or comments.
Where's the 50-foot buffer? I see 25.
It's not shown on this current plan set. It will be added to the next one.
50 feet off the right of way, right? The state right of way?
It's 50 feet off of the back wetland line, which where it currently sits on the plan set in front of you guys and what I have with me tonight. Basically, all we have to do, we have to shift it about 10 feet over to the left. Is basically just to get the tail end outside. And basically what that allows us to do is that allows us to count for infiltration into the ground. If you're within that 50 feet, you're not allowed to count for infiltration. You basically have to make it like a detention pond or something like that. You're not allowed to infiltrate within 50 feet.
.30 by 50 building, two-story.
Yep. And the first floor will be mainly for the sales, and there will be some, interior display like, for like countertops and, sinks and things of that nature. And then the outdoor will be, the actual slabs of the different granite and stone you can pick. The second floor will be purely office space for the, the employees themselves.
So is the actual cutting of the stone and all of that going to be done on location?
No, there'll be no cutting of site. So the applicant actually owns the granite. There's a granite shop in Shrewsbury, which he does his processing there. So this will be just purely sales and display. So any like custom stuff will be done at his other shop and then transported over. And that's mainly due to, you know, obviously the sensitive area with the wetlands and things like that. So there'll be no cutting.
So there'll be some inside display and some outside.
Correct. Inside mostly, you know, like a showroom for countertops and things. Outside for the actual, you know, granted when they, you know, they want a countertop, you can go out and pick your different kind of stone. Like,
Picky slab.
You're gonna have a dumpster anywhere?
I don't believe it's shown, but it would be at the edge of the driveway here. You'd be located at the edge of the driveway here. That would allow the dump truck to come in, load, and then he could turn around using the loading area. I'll make sure that's added on the next plan set.
And they'll be storing snow as well.
Yeah, I'll add the snow storage, but that would be in the similar area over here because there's nothing, no work to be done over there, and it's actually relatively flat. It is a little higher than the parking lot, so that will allow it for, if when the snow melts, it would be able to go across the parking lot and into our system and be treated.
And not go on to the, where the gas station was or?
No, the gas station fortunately is actually slightly higher elevation, so it wouldn't be able to go up that way.
Amount.
Adam, 16, 18 parking spaces sufficient for what the
19.
use is? 19.
I
19.
believe that's sufficient, but Bill's gonna double check on parking for, make sure that it's all aligned properly. I did have a question, don't mind.
Go ahead.
Trucks, you said you're gonna have deliveries from Shrewsbury for cut stone.
Mhm.
Are you gonna have certain times of the day that's going to arrive? It's a busy street, and you have customers walking around the lot.
Right.
They have a certain time of the day of safety.
So typically deliveries would be done either early morning, you know, from orders from the night before, or at like say the end of the day. Typically they wouldn't be going back and forth because they do process during the day. So it'd be either an end of a day delivery or early morning.
Okay.
Steve?
So, you're showing one employee in your parking lot count. You expect one employee for the activity, outside activity, inside activity?
Yeah, because typically with these kind of businesses, they're typically not high volume. They're not your typical retail shop where you'd have, say, 5 or 6 customers at a time. It's typically somebody who goes in there with, you know, they just built a house or something like that. So it's usually you get maybe 1 or 2 customers at a time. So there's not a high demand for a lot of employees. So it's common just to have somebody work in the front. 1 employee mostly, but maybe, you know, during a busier time they might have 1 more employee on site.
So I'd like to see that taken into account with the review of the parking lot. Make sure that that's accounted for.
Parking spaces and that adequate customers. Nick?
Yeah, I mean, just not to belabor the point, but just to kind of piggyback on the employee. I mean, when you were talking about it, just the delivering, offloading, for lack of knowledge on how that would all take place, I'm assuming that would be more than 1 employee who'd have to be kind of supervising that. So, I'd want to make sure that we account for enough employee parking as well as customer parking, despite.
Well, they got office upstairs, so there's gonna how many
Well,
employees do they
that was
expect to have?
That's enough office space to think that there's more than 1.
Yeah, I can double check on that and make sure that, you know, that the amount of
That there's
parking would be
adequate for the
set.
amount of employees
Right.
and those that would be customers.
Yeah, we can.
By the
I can
table.
double check that because I mean we do have plenty of space. But we do have to add a couple more spaces and shift it over. It's not like we're limited in there. So if we need to add a couple more spaces, it's not an issue.
Okay.
Scott?
Nope.
John?
What's the total square footage of the entire lot?
77,000.
Oh, I see what it says, 77,000. Open area is 56,435. It doesn't say that's the total area, that was my question.
So the-
Area.
So just to clarify, the total area is 77,816. The upland being 56,435, and the wetland accounting for 21,381. I can make sure that that says total area, just to, you know.
You can just
eliminate-
separate them out, wetland
Yeah.
from dry.
Sure, just to remove any kind of confusion.
Is there a landscape plan or one coming?
There is no landscaping proposed at this time.
And then, the water main you're gonna tie into, do you have any idea what size that water main is?
I do not currently.
Has the water department been contacted to see if it can handle the 2-inch water service and the 6-inch fire protection service?
I know it used to service fairly large sprinkler systems for Teddy Bear Farm, so this is actually, with it being a small building that's not really going to have a lot of high water demand use, we're fairly confident that, you know, it could definitely handle it because the use itself is getting smaller. But we can verify with the water department to make
Yeah.
sure that they're comfortable with it.
That's great for the 2-inch, I just wonder if there's enough flow if there's a fire.
Yeah.
And then, has Mass DOT been contacted about your curb cut?
The curb cut is existing and we're going to utilize it. We will, because we are changing the use, we will require an access permit with them, so that will be filed. Obviously, we would wait until this approval was granted before going to them.
And you're gonna tie into the existing sewer, correct?
Yes.
Do you know what size the sewer main is?
I know where the lateral is. I can get the size on there.
There is a lateral,
Yeah, there's a lateral.
so my question is, if there's a lateral, you're gonna tie into an existing lateral, and why is there a detail for Y&T saddles for 8-inch lateral sewer connections?
Those are pretty standard. They're kind of like the boilerplate details on there. I can update it to make sure it accounts for tapping into a lateral.
And you already said you're gonna get the soil test to us.
Yeah, yep, that has been performed, and I can get you all that information once I give you my next plan set.
Something like that from the moment along.
Just the landscape plan, we're gonna need that.
How wide is your opening, the curb cut that exists? Can you just put that in when you bring the plan,
Yep.
please?
Until we bring this one up.
Looks like it's pretty, looks like it's 40 feet.
No? 40 feet.
That's 50.
No, it's a huge opening. Actually, it looks like there's two on there.
And we'll need something of a landscaping plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, and forgive me, because I'm not super familiar with Auburn's bylaws. Do you have like a landscaping guideline for parking lots?
I can check our bylaws and get some details.
Awesome.
I don't
Well,
know
you can
off the top of
bring
my head,
one-
but-
Where we'd want to see landscaping is just along the front,
Okay, basically to
not on islands.
provide a little screening for, you know, as you pass, maybe some arborvitae's or something
Need
along the
something
front.
low,
Sure.
so you
Nothing,
can
yeah, it's
still,
nothing too
Yeah, you don't
tall,
want
'cause of the line of
arborvitae, you
sight.
want something
Okay.
that's gonna look
something
nice.
low like a U or
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay, yeah.
Make it look nice.
Just to look it up.
That's what it said.
Yep.
All set. Snow storage you got. You can just share, you will show the dumpster and just designate roughly snow storage.
Yep. I'll make sure that's on there.
A lot of space there. Adam, anything else?
Not this time, no.
Is there any questions from the audience? There's none. So we want to continue the hearing till January 8th. Is that okay with you?
I'm thinking, given to give Graves a little bit of time with the holidays, is there another meeting in January, a later meeting? 'Cause I think that would probably be better to continue to that one.
January 22nd.
Just to allow time to review and get things, properly in order.
Make a motion to continue the hearing to January 22nd.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Please vote.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Sign that for me?
Thanks.
Next, we have a 7:15 PM public hearing. The applicant is B&P Properties LLC, a request for a site plan approval under section 3.2.7.6, 3.2.5.0, 3.2.5.2, and 9.4 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for a motor vehicle repair / body shop use and retail store and sales use or lunchroom restaurant use. It's also a request for a special permit under section 3.2.6.111 for a multiple business use and section 3.9.2.2 drive-up facility of the Auburn zoning bylaws use on property located at 117 Washington Street, Auburn, Mass. Map 27, parcel 8. This has been continued from November 27th at the request of the applicant. Is the applicant present?
Yes, the applicant is. Good evening.
Rachel, do you have?
Good evening, Howard Stempler, members of the board. I'm with Brian Nelson, Sean Fahey, the contractor is here, as are the principals, Barry and Patrick Lundgren. And we have done work, we've taken all the comments that were made. As you know, this matter was going to peer review. We did obtain peer review. Comments were incorporated. Mr. Nelson spent time and his firm sort of re-engineering the site in accordance with many of the comments that were made, and has also sort of reviewed, gone back to the site several times and reviewed with the review, taken the peer review comments and incorporated those as well. So without any further ado, if we could proceed, or if there's any questions beforehand, but we'll proceed and kind of go through
Oh, you can start.
the site.
Okay.
Thank you.
For the record, my name is Brian Nelson with Metro West Engineering. Just like to get you up to speed a little bit from what we've done from our initial hearing back on November 28th. We did meet with Kenneth Smith of the Water Department last week on December 4th. Met with the superintendent and one of the foremen to talk about basically the connections to the water system with the fire protection line and domestic line. Basically the connection off the street, routing up through the site and up to the two buildings, so we've revised that plan accordingly. We did receive a peer review letter on December 5th, and we're basically working through those comments right now. Do have a copy of that letter in front of me, so if there are any points that any of the board members would like to discuss, I'm certainly happy to do that. We are in the process of revising the lighting plan, basically with cutoff shields to basically have zero illumination at boundary lines. And this morning we actually did some soil testing at the site. That was one of the comments from the peer review letter. We dug 4 test pits in addition to the ones we had done back in 2015. So we dug one roughly in the center of the site and then 3 at the rear of the site. So we basically dug one test pit really in this corner of the infiltration system, the smaller infiltration system here, and then we dug 3 at the back of the site for this larger system. Found pretty good soils everywhere. This system up front we had testing from our original round of testing back in 2015. Basically, we did take comments we received from the board last time, and it doesn't reflect on this plan, but we have widened this driveway from 20 feet to 24 feet. And that opening has widened a little bit as well, just to kind of incorporate the same radius, but basically that driveway is 4 feet wider, basically from here all the way through to its end. I did put together, and if I can pass these out, these are basically some sections we had talked a little bit about, kind of the grade changes, you know, looking at a section through the property here and a section through the property, basically the center of both buildings, to show the grade changes and give you a little bit of perspective from basically a section looking forward from the street. If it's okay if I pass these out? One more? Two more. Sorry about that. There you go. And there are
I
two
just want to
sets.
say, we have like a rule where if it hasn't been passed in or submitted by the Thursday prior to the meeting, we're not going to look at it. Because
Okay.
we have to, you know, we take time from everybody else in the audience, and we have, it's known that in the bylaw or whatever else that you're supposed to have it,
Okay.
you should have been notified. And it's not, it's for everybody. It's just so everybody in the audience isn't waiting, because we're trying to read something and want, you know, and saying
For the
everybody else
first
is.
time. Sure.
But
We just want to,
you can still proceed.
yeah, the idea, we can describe sort of what the visuals would look like
Yeah.
without having folks have to look at this.
Basically, it reiterates, I think, some of what we talked about at our initial meeting, and I think the question had come up more for the larger building, the collision center. Basically, that this pad is kind of cut down into the site. So looking at this section here, you've got about a 4-foot drop or so from the abutting property to the north, coming in, basically dropping down. This pad is relatively level, basically between elevation 500 and 499. And then
So you're saying the north, is that where the mobile homes are?
there are mobile homes actually on both
And
sides.
they're looking down on the site?
Yes, by about 4.5 to 5 feet, correct. And the grade basically rises up a little bit, probably 2 to 3 feet on the southerly side. And there is basically the same type of development on the southerly side as well. And I should point out that basically north is kind of going diagonally up the page, so basically it would be southeast side and northwest side, but yeah. So the upper part of the page, there's about a
Didn't it
4-foot
change
drop.
when we talked the last time? Wasn't it different at different levels in the length going back?
It changes slightly. This area through kind of the majority of the collision center on the northerly side, you've got that 3 to 5 foot cut from about here to here. And the grades, the first section that we've included basically is a section through the retail building. And the grades are relatively level, basically across as you come onto the site from the north, coming in a southerly direction. And then the grades just drop a little bit on the southerly side.
And in the back, I thought it dropped way down.
Yes, basically the high point of the property is right in here. And so you've come up at about elevation 475 on Washington Street. You come up basically to this pad, which has got a floor elevation of about 484. So you come up about 9 feet from the street to this building, come up about another 15 feet or so from 484 to roughly 500 or 16 feet. And basically the high point of the site is roughly in here, and then elevations in the existing condition drop pretty sharp off to the south. So again, I think the sections are just something, these are all to scale at 20 scale. There's no vertical distortion, so I think they're just a tool that'll help to, kind of show what's going on between the existing and the proposed grading. Some of the other peer review comments, we have added a sign location, we've added snow storage areas. We're in the process of making some adjustments to the infiltration system footprint, and also some of the routing and locations of drain manholes and drain lines. So those are kind of pursuant to both board member comments and some of the peer review comments. The adjustments that we'll make will not have any impacts for the reductions in rates and volumes of runoff, we still offer a pretty significant reduction in terms of basically the rate at which runoff's leaving the site, basically going towards Washington Street or going to the south or off property in the southerly direction. And those reductions are still very significant. Really, those are kind of those kind of capture really where we're at. We hope to resubmit a full set of plans and a letter to the peer reviewer. Hope to do that sometime over the next week or so. We still got some work to do. I think one of the things that we'd like to talk about as a group, and the applicants are here also, was talk about some of the landscape in terms of buffering between fence and plantings. And the applicant's preference certainly would be to install fence basically on the two lines that abut the two mobile home communities. Really, I don't think because there are really no abutters for quite a distance this way, no need to install a fence in this direction. And
Isn't the pike down in the back there?
no, it's not.
Is
The pike would be
at an
kind of
angle?
south, directly south almost of probably 1,000 feet or so. I think that's on the other side.
But it
This
just
is the
drops-
tail end of West Tech Drive. So I think the pike's on the other side of West Tech Drive. And, in terms of basically, the applicant's preference would be to install fence and no plantings on the two sides. And, again, I think...
Fence and low plantings or no plantings?
plantings.
No plantings.
No plantings.
So,
And what about the landscaping on 20?
On the front side.
yeah, we do have some plantings in the front. There's kind of a large planting bed in the front, and then we had some ornamental trees in the front along here. So that was part of the original submittal.
Right.
And basically, there was a fairly decent-sized planting bed right in here, actually.
Mostly
You
low?
yes, but you may recall when we were a couple weeks ago, there was a landscape plan, I don't know, but it did include a significant number of plantings in the front of the building as well. But there was a plan. I don't know if you...
And I remember we
Yeah.
talked about something, I'm not sure what it was it put the building in the front, and the parking in the back, or the parking in the front? And the building-
Trying to keep, what we're trying to do is get more visibility right on the street versus having all the...
We can
parking in
address
front of
that.
the building.
That was just so you know that, maybe it didn't come out at the meeting, there was a lot of time put in by the engineers and by the contractors with the client about what's the best way to gain visibility to fashion the site in such ways that you're seeing the optimal look when you see it from the street. And I think one of the issues, if I can say, and tell me if I'm wrong, but if we were to put, if I recall the conversation, if the building were flipped, if the retail building were flipped, that would mean that the back of the building would be facing, essentially be facing the street, which at the end of the day, from a design standpoint, was not optimal. The other thing was the sight lines from the street. I think Brian can explain a little bit better because I put a lot of time into trying to figure out, would you have good sight lines and good visibility so you could see both that there's parking and that you have the retail store and an opportunity to pull in. So I don't know if you want to just comment a little bit any further on that.
Yeah, I think you've actually hit it pretty much on the head, but the two big considerations were with the retail building up closer to the street, that the back would be facing Washington Street, and really not much, curb appeal there. And basically, if the building were up at the front too, you would be looking at the back of the building, you wouldn't be able to see into the property. So we feel like we've got better visibility through the site from the street with the building pushed to the back. And you've also got the front of the building visible from the street as well. So for signage and storefronts, that
What kind of fencing is proposed? What kind of fencing? They don't want to do
What
landscape.
type of fence were you gonna put?
Sure. I think just speaking with Sean before, that we were talking about the white PVC fence might be optimal with, it's a full shield from the neighbors, essentially looking at it. So it's got the white PVC pipe and 6-foot
we'll take a poll of the board to see whether or not they want any plantings also.
Sure.
But, well, that would be,
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yeah.
So at what height would that be in relation to the building that's going to be on the site?
Good question. Maybe we can answer.
The top of the fence would be roughly about half as high as the building.
Okay. So then the doors, the roll-up doors and everything will still provide enough noise
So
attenuation through?
yes, you'd have sound buffer because the doors, you'd have most of the doors would be covered up, as well as sort of the area where most of the vehicles would be hidden from sight, because they would be about halfway up to the sort of the top of the building. So most all the vehicles that will be on site would be sort of hidden, if you will, and covered. And the other thing, just from a safety standpoint, from our perspective, it's better to have the fencing because we want to sort of shield the public from looking into the property rather than either chain link or sort of vegetation, because, you know, we'd just be concerned about safety, people getting in. Keep in mind, this is a collision center, and you have vehicles that are not operable, but, you know, that you can't lock them, or you can't, so that sort of creates more of a potential sort of safety hazard, people getting into the site and doing things, vandalism and so forth.
So how does not having a fence on the back side of the property help with safety?
I think, your point is well taken, but I think just because it's not populated behind the property. Our bigger concern was people either seeing it from the front or on the sides coming onto the property.
It would be a deterrent for access if there is no fence along the back. Somebody would have to travel a pretty long distance to get, you know, basically around the sides of the property to get into the back of the property. Basically over.
From the residents that are there, they'd have to go how far?
Basically, I think the last of the residences are roughly in this area here and here, so they'd have to come about 150 feet or so around to get into the property. And this is a fairly steep slope too, so it wouldn't be the most negotiable terrain.
yeah,
Thank you.
not,
Yeah,
it's
thank
woodsy.
you. It's a good
It's,
question.
yeah.
Good point. We're just saying that the active side of the doors, the actives are on the front of the building, not on the sides. So again, just going to the board's sort of issue and concern with noise and visibility won't be an issue on the side of the building.
Just while you have it up there, where did you think for your snow storage?
Snow storage here, here, and the area in back as well.
And you're going to do plantings, as we said, in the front.
That's correct.
But you're not proposing plantings along the fence?
That would be our preference, correct.
So, to pull the board, Steve, how do you feel about the fence on each side and plantings, which would be on the outside of the fence, on the residence side?
I'd prefer to see plantings as well as the fence.
Nick,
I'm indifferent.
Scott,
Fine with just the fence, to be honest.
John?
Well, a fence creates a sound barrier, but it also creates a reflection of sound. So if the fence at the bottom of the page is lower than the fence at the top of the page, whatever noise hits the fence on the top of the page is going to go right over the fence on the downside of the page. So I'd be in favor of fence and evergreen trees to absorb the sun.
Yeah, arborvitae's or
Yeah.
something, because then that also, you know, those get 20, 30 feet high. You're also providing a visual buffer
Correct.
and maintaining more of a natural look to the mobile home on both sides.
So it looks like they'd prefer to have some plantings on the outside.
Understand.
Just to clarify, Barry London speaking, you want the vegetation to go above the fence?
Sure.
Well, you plant them at, say, 6 footers or 5 footers or whatever they are, but eventually they'll grow to 15, 20 feet. It depends on where they're planted, how big they're gonna get, and what kind of soil.
And what kind of genus you got.
And there's different kinds of arborvitaes and stuff
So
like
they will
that.
start as smaller and then go up.
Yeah, and you'll have to put the fence in enough so that you account for the size of them, but they don't
They don't get that big around.
get that big around, but
3 feet apart.
if you had rich
3 feet
soil.
apart on the center.
Is there vegetation already along the property line that's on
Yep.
the trailer park's property? Is there already an
there?
existing buffer?
It was tight. There are some mature trees just off property.
This is going to eliminate the people that live in that mobile home to have to look at that building eventually too. So, and as John said, with the sound absorption from the fence.
We think you're a good neighbor.
What's that?
We think you're a good neighbor and have been, but they like the plantings.
Yeah, no, and I think the idea of the fence is to make sure it's high enough to obstruct the view. I don't know what that height is. I mean, that's something we'd have to do
Probably
calculations on.
no bigger than 6 feet on the plastic one.
Yep.
5 or 6 feet. And then you put the plantings and they'll overcome it. And we always looked at it, because years ago, people used to put in stockade and they'd rot and they'd fall, and then the plantings were already still there, and you
Right.
can take the fence down, you don't need anything.
So you've still got a buffer one way or another.
Sure.
And the idea is to maintain, some semblance of normalcy for the people that are already living there, so.
From a cost standpoint, going to your point, if it turned out that using cedar fencing was cheaper, but we started with the cedar fencing, we did the plantings over time, as you indicate, it's possible, likely, that the wood may deteriorate, there may be issues, but by that time the plantings are 10, 12, 15 feet high, would that be of a concern to the board at that point in time? Meaning it's certainly easier for us.
I'm not sure what the difference is in the price. It may not be that great.
Depends on the
Yeah, I think-
quality.
And you're gonna be looking at it too.
really does
Yeah, I think
depend on
we
the
want the
privacy
plastic
there.
because it's
Nice
an
to
addition
look
of
at
safety and
over time.
security. And it's nice to
I
have
think the
vegetation there,
plastic
but
could
the
be better.
fence.
Pretty much been outvoted by
Yeah.
everybody in the room.
See, it'll last you 20 years. Maybe.
Glass fence, glass rubber.
Okay.
So,
Next,
Audience.
So
any public comment? Okay, there being none?
yeah, I would have one last thing. We understand that we'll be back on so we can present a final plan if we want.
Next meeting is January 8th, and then the next one is the 22nd after that, so you can pick.
So, at the risk of the ire of the board, we'd at least like to raise once again the possibility that we would have the opportunity to begin to start to clear. And while we understand that, we raised that at the end of last meeting, but the reason being is, while obviously we'll have to stop at some point in time, it will significantly enhance the time it'll take to get the building up in the spring. And that's, Mr. Fahey can speak to that, our contractor can speak to that, but that's really the main reason, is it'll really give us a head start, a quick start when we start building, really start actively building, and we want to get the building up and get the retail up as quickly as possible, as well as the convention center. It's just anyway, raise it for your consideration.
And that is to allow you to begin cutting
Yes.
and clearing.
Build it again.
Get the site preparation.
Does that include stump removal? Or
I can ask.
prior to.
It would. Yeah, we have a sick, Sean Fahey, CM&B.
Construction term. You got runoff.
Yep.
Well, you coming? Are you going to choose to come next meeting?
On January 8th?
January 8th.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And, we could have a vote then,
Okay.
because the board would prefer not to grant that approval until you have approval. And the highway department engineer was opposed to that too, because of things we've seen in the past. So if you come to the next meeting and have whatever we got, we'll maybe get a vote at the January 8th meeting.
Sounds good, we'll be prepared for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good luck,
Excuse me,
thank you.
And
Oh.
we'll get drawings well in advance so we can review.
Yes.
Yeah, we're hoping for...
Right, yeah, just
next
have 'em-
week. Yeah.
Be to Adam by that Thursday before he sends our package out.
Yeah, hopefully before the holiday.
Make a motion to continue.
Have a motion to
Make a motion to
continue?
continue to January 8th.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. See you January 8th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good holiday.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Two.
See, Peter?
To introduce myself, I'm here with Burton Engineering.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Frank with Burton Engineering. Frank with Burton Engineering, we did peer review on the upcoming solar. So you just want to introduce you.
Aye.
Hi, Frank. Good to see you. Scott, how are you? Likewise, nice to meet
Right, so that was that. So we're on to site plan approval, parking area located at 28 Mulberry Street. Yep.
Okay, we have a 7:25 PM public hearing. The applicant is Quest 28 Millbury LLC, a request for site plan approval under section 9.4.1 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for the expansion of a parking area on property located at 28 Millbury Street, Auburn, Mass., map 42, parcel 45. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
How you doing? My name is Owen Fitzgerald. I'm the property manager for Quest 28 Mulberry Street. So I'm here today. This is part of the expansion project that's going on the second floor. Not expansion project, but the build out for the tenant Carl Stores, who is currently fitting out the second floor so they can move from Southbridge down to this building. So as part of that work, there's going to be an elevator to bring people from the first floor up to the second floor, so they have a dedicated access. When we put that elevator in, it's going to be on the north side of the building. And 28 Millbury Street is the one with the brown roof there, not the black roof that it comes up on Google. So when we put in the north of the building, when the new elevator is located on the north side of the building here, it's going to take out between 6 to 8 spaces. So to maintain the parking count, we're proposing to square off this parking lot area that's in the odd-shaped parking lot on the northwest corner. Yeah, exactly. So
Where's the elevator going?
the elevator is going just on the. It's on the. Let me show you right here. So it's somewhere in this location. Or the architect who's working on it is still tweaking the exact final location of it. But that elevator will bring you up, and then there's an entrance proposed for inside here that will get you the stairwell that will bring you up as well. And then there's also the loading, the building when you drive around, you drive up a grade to the loading dock, and there will be a man door there for access as well on the back of the building. So with the elevator going in and the loss of 6 to 8 spaces, I spoke to Caleb about what was required, and he just asked that I maintain the parking places that we get rid of. We've a variance for being undercount at the moment, so it was just his request was to maintain the parking. We do have enough parking for the number of employees that will be coming in from Carl Stores, Mid-State, and then Imperial Distributors are just after moving into one of the areas there as well on the second floor. So we've plenty of space. We have 252 spaces at the building. There would be maximum of 160 people from Carl Stores. Mid-States is about 20. They have 20 spaces dedicated to them in our lease. They don't have a huge amount of workforce in there. It's the first floor tenant is plastic distribution. So there's the heavy parking load is from Carl Stores. They come in 3 shifts for the warehouse, kind of cleaning medical devices and then reshipping them out again. And then they have 26,000 square feet of office space as well. So I saw comments that Adam sent through to me. Langen Engineering modified the plan to accommodate all of the requests that were sent from your engineer. I know that was the original was the parking stalls were indicated at 18 feet. That was changed to 18 and a half. The island then was changed. The grade of that island was modified. I have 11 by 17s of this, and if you want the big plan down that way, I'll just turn that big plan down there.
Yeah.
This little triangular island,
Yes.
is that there for a light?
So the
What's the
The
purpose?
old one?
yeah, but that's staying. There's a electrical pole.
Here's where they're gonna square it off down here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See the old line right here? So that island kind of disappears. Now he squares it off to maintain the spaces he's taking, putting the elevator in.
Right, and we try just work around the existing telegraph pole that is smack in the middle of the parking lot space without moving it. So we made it. We kind of put it in a spot, and then there's bollards around it, and just lost that one spot, but keeping it where you had the clearance from the other aisle.
So is the island disappearing too? We just putting bollards around the pole?
The bollards are there, and no. The bollards are there. It's just it's a hatched area at the moment. It's paint, as you see, with the bollards around it.
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's taking out
And then the other.
One, yeah, it's
One,
just
two,
one
three,
space.
four.
Yeah.
Well, it's a painted.
And he's gonna hatch it, yeah, painted
And then
island.
the other slight tweak to that was one of the requests that Carl Stores had made was that you can see the driveway as the black line there. That's the driveway that gets to do parking at the front of the building, and in between that drive lane and the parking space here at the moment, there's a chain link fence, a 3 foot tall, maybe 40-inch tall chain link fence. It's not the most attractive fence in the world, and they had said, look, you know, we're coming here, we're spending a lot of money to renovate this building. This can't be the front door. So they requested that landscape bank then be installed here as a divider between the drive lane, just to improve the aesthetics. And the idea is to try and match the landscaping that's on the other side of that drive lane. Some small plantings and mulch.
Can you show us on the, please?
Sure. So right now, if you were coming in and going to Mid-States, you would drive down from Millbury Street. You would drive along here. There's a chain link fence there. That guard shack has been removed. And what they requested and reviewed with DCG was that, you know, we could keep that if it was requested, but we actually they preferred the DCG group preferred this gets changed to a landscape bank, a barrier now between that drive lane and the parking, and it actually is it's a more efficient use of the space, because when we get rid of the parking here now and start my parking back further, with the telegraph pole where it is, it actually was more efficient and I needed less square feet. for the of disturbance.
The same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So that's what it is. This is a we're doing this pretty much just
Shorter, it's just, so he's making a barrier, so instead of having an ugly chain link fence, you have a sloped area.
yeah.
Parking spaces back, have plantings on it here, so when you're driving that big driveway, it looks nice when you pull it up to the front of the building,
Right.
if I'm not mistaken.
No, that's exactly it. I'm back tomorrow. I've been at Inlands Wetlands just to. There's the brook that's within 200 feet. They have the plan, and I'm back tomorrow just to see if they had any comments on that as well.
You're not really changing anything other than adding to the corner of the park lot,
Right.
and you're taking paving away. So it's pretty much an even trade as far as what was there and what's gonna be
Adding
there.
some landscaping, making it look nicer.
Right.
So, yeah, it's all good.
Not changing any grades out in the back, different runoffs.
It's a pretty simple one, but you've got to go through, and Auburn's beautiful this time of evening. So
Steve?
No additional comment.
Scott?
Nothing, I like it. Are we gonna act before conservation though?
You haven't been to conservation?
I
yet?
have. I was at conservation last month, and I have a meeting with them again tomorrow.
Okay, so you're not complete and you don't have an order of conditions or?
Nope. I honestly don't imagine I'm going to have a hard time there. They saw the plan. I've got the driveway between myself and the brook anyway, and I'm like, we're not doing major excavation. We're going to bring in and fill a little bit, square off that lot. But whatever they want, I'm happy to do.
We could approve with it on the condition that
Bill did ask to see a final plan. He hasn't seen the revised plan yet. I would like to.
who hasn't seen it?
Bill and Joy haven't seen the revised plan.
Okay.
Continue it.
The good news is that there's no asphalt plants open at the moment, so.
Oh, they're not open?
Oh, if they are, I'm
They
like,
are.
okay,
I
it's
think
the
they're
last
still-
couple of trucks going out.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
for long.
Depending on the plant, they're usually open 2 days a week in the winter.
Okay. Okay. So the tenant is in a major panic to get the back side of the building open, but the good news is that's like not where their employee load is. 60 of the employees are in the office space, and realistically, it's not going to be until April that they get in with the elevator work that we've got to do and all of that. So I do have time. So
We can continue it to January 8th, January 22nd.
why don't we go with January 8th? And tomorrow I have my
If you haven't made it and you have to go to the 22nd, then we'll continue to that.
perfect. Great.
Make a motion to continue to January.
Is there any public comment?
Mr. Brooks,
Bob?
Bob Carlson, 25 Mill Street,
How are
next
you?
door neighbor.
How are you?
Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Owen. Just want to know any effect on my property.
So 25 Mill Street.
I'm the farmhouse on the corner.
Okay. Yeah. So right here.
Yes.
Yeah. No. There's all of the expansion is right in this area right here. So nothing over on your side at all.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem at all.
I wanted to make sure you weren't going to clear cut the forest.
Yeah.
It is a nice buffer.
Yeah.
At the tree level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other public comment? Other board members?
Thanks for your time. All right.
Make a motion to continue to January 8th.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
Vote.
Thanks very much. Have a good evening.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I know, makes me sick.
You have it already?
Okay, we have a 7:30 public hearing. The applicant is ZPT Energy Solutions. A request for a site plan approval under section 9.4.1 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for the installation and operation of a large-scale ground-mounted photovoltaic facility on property located at 1 Henshaw Street. This has been continued from November 27th, 2018 at the applicant's request. So, Rachel, you have all the information?
Thank you.
Probably we should talk.
It's in this pile.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the packet. There's no plan.
So we need to proceed.
We're actually on some visuals too.
What?
Adam, we have one of our consultants here for hooking onto the TV.
Okay, if you've got some general information that you want to talk about, but the board is not gonna review anything that was presented today or prior to Thursday before the meeting.
Okay.
The peer review.
Because we've done it with everybody tonight, and we need any information that we're gonna receive or address needs to be presented to the planner on the Thursday prior to the meeting.
Okay.
And anything that's received at the meeting, that, on the night of the meeting, we're not gonna review or enter into it.
Okay. The peer review, when was that submitted?
December 10th.
Okay, so that was Monday. It was yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yesterday, okay. All right, well,
It's like a day after, 3 days that we received it.
no, I understand. We were just pushed very hard to get everything resolved. Well, what I'll do is let me give you
Sure.
some, well, first of all, my name is Barry Skolci. I'm a principal in ZPT Energy. This is Paul McLean. Paul's working with me on the matter, and David Kelly from Meridian Associates. We do have some, what I'd like to do is just give you an update as to what we've been doing since the last time we were before you. There is some information that we would like to just run through that was requested at our last meeting on the 27th. If we're, specifically some visual analysis that we've completed, that was one of the requirements. But just giving you an opening and what we've been doing. We appeared before ZBA the day after we met here last, and we did receive our special permit. That was approved, and I believe it's being signed at the next meeting, and we'll be going to for comment or for appeal. Pardon?
Yeah, the appeal process.
Appeal process, right. We also, with Concom, besides, we have a meeting tomorrow with them. We had a site visit on December 8th, which went very well, and we have our DEP number assigned that was received today. Our expectation is that Conservation, that we will close the meeting tomorrow and discuss order conditions for the NOI for the project. So that's what we've been doing, a lot of work from the last time that we met. The other thing that we did focus on, which you have in front of you, is the peer review. We actually asked a representative from Burton Engineering to come tonight to discuss any questions or comments that the public or the board had, but since you've not reviewed information, that will still be an open item, and if necessary, we'll have him come back at the next meeting as well. From our perspective and from the letter that you see in front of you, we've discussed and have come to an understanding of all the items that were addressed in the initial peer review comment. So we feel we're in a very good shape there. There were other items that we discussed or that were requested of us at the last meeting that we're prepared to talk about if need be. Number one is that the town engineer also provided some comments that we did respond to, and we feel those issues have all been addressed.
We provided previously a list of projects, similar projects that we've completed, constructed in other areas of Massachusetts. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at those, but they're in various towns, nearby towns. We also prepared what we call a clarification memo to discuss some details that were brought to our attention by the board. For instance, we outlined, there was some discussion about access, alternative access through Henshaw Street that is not feasible. There's not clear title on that area, and we've been advised by our title company we would not be able to obtain title insurance.
When you say there's not clear title?
There's complications with the title. If we did, we provided those details, what they are, but they've made the representation to us that we would not be able to obtain title insurance, which, that causes an issue for us, obviously. We also provided some information and photographs of vegetation on projects both around and beneath the array. There was a question about whether the grass would grow underneath the panels, which it does, so we provided that information to you. We provided additional information on the access drive grade and also outlined coordination, if necessary, of school buses in the area that would be willing to undertake. And that information was all provided in the clarification memo that we submitted to you. The last thing that we did is we
Came in the packet that we hadn't had a chance to read.
Through part of the process of completing the survey in the properties, we have performed a LiDAR, which is a drone that takes actual photos of the site. We have constructed visual representations of the joining properties in the array and how it's going to look. What you'll see, and we're going to actually hook it up to the monitor so you can see what the result of that, but what it is. That's worst case, because what happens is that the LiDAR takes the photograph looking down, so it doesn't account for the low growth branches on the trees. And it was also taken during, I think, November, when the leaves had predominantly fallen off. So it's indicative of a worst case scenario. We are proposing to do some supplemental plantings to fill in some of the gaps that you'll see. But we're prepared to show that to you. And in fact, what I'd like to do is turn it over to Meridian and have them go through some of those details.
All right, David Kelly, Meridian Associates.
If it pleases the board, we could also go through the peer review comments. No? Okay.
They haven't reviewed them.
I think speaking for myself, anybody else?
No.
What's that?
This pertains to the last meeting, yeah, so that's okay, but...
Yeah, if you're going to show changes, or show us what you've done to it, just to some of the things we talked about at the last meeting, that's fine. But anything that would have to redo, that we haven't reviewed yet,
Yeah,
we
understood.
just received, that we'll have to wait.
That's fine. This all has to do with things that were
We
requested.
want to show the array and how
Yeah.
it's going to be on the land, and
Yeah.
Where's it going?
Unplugged in.
Not surprised. I don't know if this may be...
Is that going in?
HDMI is a display port? HDMI hookup?
That's the only hookups that I'm aware of that are on
We need an adapter.
Backside of the cable box might have an HDMI.
Adam, is there one right on the starboard?
I thought there was. It's kind of
Peter Kelly.
Should be one on the side, right in the back of that.
Mm-hmm. John's one on the Jeopardy too, right?
It would be hooked up over there. It would be hooked up
That
over
must
there.
be
I don't
like,
know.
It was. As long as he's doing that, he's not saying it's.
They changed boxes and things have changed.
Can you do the screen mirror maybe? The wide through the
that's very nice.
screen mirror or wide on the screen mirror?
Very nice.
One curmudgeon on the board.
I fully
We
agree.
replaced one with another.
Only problem, we have two.
Ooh.
Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Not nice.
Ron knows I'm only kidding. We should go take a look at this.
Yeah.
I wanna look at that.
Are there additional items we can discuss without this, or should we continue?
Let me see. I think we went through most of it. We got another public hearing after this. Then just signatures, of which I think you said there was none, Adam.
correct.
And so there's only one other
Well, I was referring to this specific one, because if they can't display, there's no need for delaying it.
Yeah.
And anything that I'm going to discuss specifically about the project is in front of you now, so I can't say anything.
Okay. All right.
Do you have plans showing all the changes?
Yes, we submitted them. And I brought extra copies today for people as well, so I'll just leave these with you.
Leave those with Adam.
Yeah, I've got some, those are the ones I got done the other day.
Yesterday.
Yeah, so
HDMI right here. I'll just plug one in right here.
Oh, there is? Oh, perfect.
On the side here. See, it was worth it having you here tonight, right guys? Yep.
Is there any value, or is it appropriate from the gentleman from Burton just to give his thoughts about the back and forth that occurred between us or not?
Until we have opportunity to read it.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. You guys understand we're a volunteer.
No,
board. We don't work
I-
full-time, but, you know.
No, I fully understand that. I'm just,
Yeah.
he's here, so I just wanted to try to make use of the time, that's all.
Sure.
No need about this. Is there any buttons, input buttons here?
There you go. Oh, I just have to do the,
HDMI comes up on
probably have to send it.
Plus, it's a night. Yeah.
Function,
No TV.
That won't connect to the other two.
VCR maybe.
It's a duplicator.
Is your mouth or anything with that?
So, you should have left good enough alone.
Sorry. I thought it was going to just be everyone was watching.
No, no.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe what we ought to do
Yeah,
until
we'll
we
just
get
continue
everything...
to the next meeting.
Continue to,
I don't
you
wanna
can
waste-
choose January 8th, January 22nd,
8th is fine. We're all ready.
continue it, Rachel, to January 8th.
Make a motion to continue to January 8th.
Excuse me. Is there any public comment before we close the
You
public?
guys want to sign this?
That's when he gets it working, right?
Oh, is it working?
Yeah, we get it working.
I'll sign it anyway.
But is this information, the information we just received yesterday?
I think this is the concept view over.
Yeah, this is like the bird's eye showing what it
Okay.
would really look like.
We'll reconsider do we complete the motion?
We didn't complete it.
So this is the area that Meridian flew with the drone LiDAR. So what we've done here is we've removed the trees and put the proposed solar array in here, so you can kind of see what it's going to look like.
Can you go right down the
Yeah, we can go right down to the
Lester
street.
Street?
Just come down to where the houses are. Kind of give you an idea of how you see it through the woods. And this was, I mean, this is in the middle of winter, no leaves on the trees, so this is going to be the best visibility you're going to have through the trees of the site. Is there any vantage point anyone specifically wanted to see?
So you're gonna place them in, when you would drive up Henshaw Street, excuse me, there's a first, what used to be a field on the left, you driving up Henshaw Street, there was a field like it would be in the form of a rectangle going back. When you weren't quite up to the...
That one there.
That one?
No, that's the one right in back of, well, I go by, at the end of Henshaw Street, right where it ends, there was a house.
Yep.
Okay, and that field would be the northernmost field in back, that big long one,
Yes.
Yes.
right there, in back of the house. Okay, the two green areas would be those on the west side, on the left, and then down a little lower, right there, right below where you had to pen that rectangle.
Down
That
below.
light-
rectangle.
I'm not sure if that's where, is that your property? Or is that might be Racky's old pit?
Yeah.
I think it, do you think
all
that's
site
it,
plans?
Tom?
That's further
That's
south.
Racky's old pit. And then the two of the westernmost fields, the long one in the back, and then there were some to the right.
Yeah, if you see here, you can, that field you're talking about there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that's south of the project. Or, I should say east.
And there's where you're snaking your road in right off the curve on Leicester.
Yep.
That's what we had asked about before, to use Henshaw Street.
Yeah, we addressed, you'll see in the response, we addressed all that sight line, distance, and there was calculations were prepared for that. And
So your mass of your arrays will be right in
yeah, that one field you referred, the two fields on the left there that
Two
are
fields
open,
is
they
that
kind of
right there.
comprise here and
The
here.
big one is the one in the back.
The big one's here, and then it's opened up a further on this north side to get the storm drainage in.
How many megawatt?
This is 3 megawatts.
3 megawatts.
3 AC.
AC.
Can we see the view from the corner of Leicester Street where you're going to enter?
So the corner there is, looks like the corner's going to be right around here.
That's where you're entering your driveway for access.
No,
Yeah.
that, this is right there.
So right here, this is where it's cleared.
Yeah,
Oh, this is the corner
there's
here.
the corner. That's the drive there.
So the clearing starts here.
That climbs in there significantly, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we addressed the grade matters in our response as well and worked that out with Burton.
So that way.
If you can hold it right there for a second, just explain.
Which way you want? This way?
It's way up.
Yep, so the road's gonna come in, it snakes around, goes behind these trees, then it snakes again behind the second row of trees, and then to the right. This area is shown as cleared because that's where detention basin is going to be located. So I just
Okay,
want to
but
clarify.
when you're down on Leicester Street where the curve is, that you're gonna enter your access road, and then where the fields are gonna be in the panels, that's gonna be a considerable elevation higher than the road. You won't
Oh, yeah,
really,
it's like
you
130
probably
feet
won't be able
difference.
to see them.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely.
That's
But
kind
we'll
of
need
the
to see
view.
the plans because we'll want screening and you'll maintain natural vegetation on, like, for the people that are down lower on Leicester Street, so that if there ever was any glare or anything.
That's addressed in.
Yeah, we proposed some supplemental vegetation there, some screening.
So yeah, I can turn the supplemental vegetation on. It's going to move significantly slower because there are a lot of trees. But actually, there are a couple rows of trees that are going to be proposed here.
All right. So,
Right? You'll also have a big flat plan at some point when we get this, once we get to see them, that you'll show it all on.
pardon me?
We'll have a flat plan that we can
You
look
know,
at.
it's all there.
It's right there, and we have...
Yeah, we just- we just-
the-
Yeah, we just wanted,
He's got it all.
this is actual site data, and this is also representative worst case because of the time of year. We just wanted to show it to you. Now, this is actually new technology. I mean, you've seen renderings in the past, they're usually computer generated, and this is an actual photograph that's digitized. So, all right, so thank you very much.
Have a happy
Okay.
holiday season.
Yep.
You
See
too.
you on the 8th.
Make a motion for
January.
January 8th?
Second.
Continue to January.
I'll second it.
Steve seconded it.
Seconded.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
There's a vote. See you
Merry
January
Christmas.
8th.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Okay, Steve, John's gonna, we'll go with you, John's second, because you can't second unless you're being an active member that night.
It was a good second.
Pretty confident in that
That was probably the best one. Not that I care, Steve, not that I care, it was second.
Trying to start trouble, but not even... Okay, we have a 7:35 PM public hearing. The applicant is Jonathan Poulin. A request for site plan approval under section 3.2.611 and 5.4 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for the operation of a new landscape business garage on property located at 121 Southwood Street, Auburn, Mass., map 12, parcel 143. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There's a vote.
Yep.
Can you state
You're up.
your names and...
For the record, my name is Brian Melissi with Whitman and Bingham Associates, with a civil engineer on the project.
Rachel, just get that.
What was your last name?
Melissi?
Melissa?
I'll give you a card after,
Great.
because you won't get it. So.
Thank you.
With me is Chris
Lazowski.
I was going to get it right. Chris
I own the
Lazowski,
property.
who's the property owner, 121 Southbridge, and this is John Poulin of Poulin Construction, who's going to be the contractor on the project. The proposal in front of you, and this is just a crudely colored up copy of the plan that's was in the site plans. The property includes the construction of a 3,600 square foot metal skin garage type of building, storage type of building, to house the landscaping business. Part of the project is the house located here will be raised, and the existing building 121 in the front of the property will remain. Couple of photos.
That's the existing.
Aerial photo, and I just took a couple of
Really, it's not the...
couple of Google Earth photos that show kind of either side of the existing building.
Everybody got one? So the house is coming down.
The house is coming down, new building on the rear of the property. I should point out that we have been in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals and were granted a variance to put the building where it is shown on this plan. I do have a copy of the variance. As long as we didn't go within 10 feet of a property line, they were okay with it. So the building shows us to be 10 feet off of the rear line, 12 feet off of the, say, we'll call it the southerly property line. And so we did get zoning relief to put the building there.
This is the old Scalone garage.
Yeah. Yep. You've done a nice job with that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That building.
A lot better than it did.
Yeah, it sure does.
Yes, the one on the picture on the TV doesn't really...
Justice, right.
I'm surprised you're not going to move the house. The house is only 25 years old.
I know.
Really? Is that
I know.
all? Looks a lot older than that.
Timmy Scalone put that up.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have no use for it. I have my one office in there, and in my business, I'm never in the office. It's collecting dust.
Are you still renting out that front building?
I am.
To that truck repair guy?
Yes, yep. And that's a kind of, we're sharing the building, but my business has grown, and his business has grown, and I just don't...
It's all good.
Everything's good, and I just need to kind of get my own building up so I can get my business inside it.
So we're in the highway business zone. We're also in the zone 2, the Aquifer Protection District. Shown on this plan here, the gray is the existing pavement. If you were to go out there today, obviously Southwood Street is paved, but there's bituminous pavement up to just about the rear of the house here. And the rest of it is gravel or a pervious area. One of the things that this is obviously our first meeting here. One of the things that I'd like to talk to the board about is when we do the math for the amount of parking that's required for both the existing building and the new building, it comes to about 49 spaces per zoning. Chris will tell you he doesn't need anywhere near that amount of spaces. Some of his equipment doesn't use a regular parking space. The public doesn't come to his building at all. And so what we would like to do is talk to the board, have a discussion about, I don't know if you guys have ever done it before, we call it maybe land banking. We've been on projects before where if we say we don't think we need all that parking, we show where we could fit it on the property, but we'd like maybe some relief to not have to actually install that parking. Later on, worst case scenario, something happens and the building inspector gets all riled up, but there's enforcement orders, that he can actually go build that parking. The reason is twofold. Number one, not only does he not really need it, doesn't require the parking, but obviously we're in that we're in the Zone 2 Aquifer Protection District, and to just go out and pave the area where we may not need it may be something that he doesn't want to do, or something that hopefully the board could see they were maybe giving us a little bit of relief on that, at least to have the discussion. Talk to water, talk to sewer. We do show the utilities on the plan. Not a lot of good records about actually where things are on this property. There's locations of the sewer stubs out in Southbridge and some anecdotal evidence on where the water goes. We did our best to show those utilities. However, when it does come time, a little bit of exploration is going to have to be done to find out exactly what is out there and where it is. So a little bit of leeway there on some of the utilities. The building is basically going to be a metal skin building, fairly wide open that he could fit up. Obviously, he's going to have some office and some bay space in there for most of his equipment. The egress out onto Southbridge Street does not change. It's going to remain as it is today. And I know it was quick, but that's the project kind of in a nutshell. We would take any questions.
Chris, if I recall, when you came before us before, the only area that was actually paved was the entrance, like what you're seeing, this gray.
Used to be all dirt.
Has this all been paved,
On the-
asphalt paved, or is this just like a?
On the aerial photo, I don't know where it ended up. You can actually see where the pavement.
I think that's what she's pointing at, correct? Is
Yeah,
that-
the gray,
So it's been paved.
all of this area has been paved?
Yes, initially it was just a little gray area.
Right.
Is all that you required
Mhm.
for us to get the two businesses in there.
Mhm.
And then within the last 2 years, just to neaten up the property, I paved to the end of the house. And the
Okay.
rest is still gravel, which was...
On the back.
Which was okay with the boards, so that stayed as it is, and that's what I'd like to keep it.
So I do know we owe, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Nope.
Adam, with the pervious surface and, the requirements and does this meet that? Have you had opportunity to?
It hasn't been up to peer review
Okay.
yet, so
Any
we'll need
aquifer?
comments for that.
Yeah.
So
there's some more work that needs to be done.
That's exactly what I was going to add in there. So we still definitely owe a stormwater plan.
Right.
Obviously, depending on how much impervious area we are providing for is going to have a big impact on that stormwater plan itself. If it's the roof area that we're recharging, we all know that the roof area is considered uncontaminated, it's clean. It doesn't really have to go through any type of water quality unit or anything such as that. If we're going to provide any more pavement, that's certainly going to have to go through a water quality unit or some type of, pre-treatment device before it gets into the ground. So,
Yeah, certainly
kinda-
there's a lot of equipment that's being stored on the site, and there's always the opportunity for gas and oil and, things like that.
And that's,
And an aquifer.
and that's part of the reason the building goes up. All that equipment that you see would be inside the building.
And so the building will have floor drains. Part of the utilities that are shown on the plan is an MDC trap. The floor drains will be connected to an MDC oil separator before tying into the sanitary sewer. So trying to kind of get in front of that. So, but then again, selfishly speaking, that's why we wanted to have this conversation with the board regarding that impervious area.
And where the house is going to come down is going to be impervious as well. So I'd like the pavement as it is now to be, ideally the only pavement there, then everything else would just be gravel if possible.
And where the houses will be gravel too?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I think he said impervious, but I think he meant to say pervious.
Pervious, I'm sorry.
Would that allow for ADA access?
I don't believe so.
Nope. So what we would do, and again, what this plan shows is a kind of a full build-out plan. What we would do is we would jockey some of the ADA access down below where we do have the 2% in all directions and whatnot in order to have the handicap spaces grab that front building there. So if this board were to kind of see favorable, and I don't need a decision tonight, but if at least kind of a straw poll and some favor of that, we could rearrange some of that parking to show ADA compliability.
But not to the rear building?
No.
Is the rear building on grade?
It is.
Where you drive right in, there's no step up, it's not above what you're gonna have for finished grade, basically, other than that much.
Right.
So I don't even know if ADA is required for that. I don't
It's
know.
one of these things where really, it's kind of a little bit of a gray area. If the public isn't really going to this back building, we really don't have to provide handicap spots out there. It'd really be where the public is invited to, which would be more apt to be at the garage. You're going to drop off your truck for service or whatnot. But we would certainly be able to double check on that and come back to this board with a plan that does meet ADA.
I had another question with the wall that's existing. Is that
It is.
the concrete block wall? Is there any?
Can I have one of the aerials? Do you still have that? It's actually shown pretty well on that aerial
So
plan.
is that to be reworked in any way?
No, that's going to stay. It's actually on a pretty good island, you can see.
Yeah,
You can see
no,
the
I can
wall.
see that, yeah, too, yeah.
No, I could see. I just wasn't sure if
Yeah,
there was
nope,
any
that's gonna
rework
stay.
of it.
Yep.
Did they do
No,
sampling soil?
Mhm.
Existing handicap spots? Wow.
yeah, because it was wide open, it wasn't paved. None of it was paved. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in an aquifer, yeah.
Correct. I was just thinking it was just to the back.
Well,
And again,
they're gonna continue to do peer review and
so I don't know how to address that.
all those things.
And again, I don't know if it needs to be pavement. I mean, whatever the material is.
Have you done any like 21E or anything like that on the site, or where the garage was in the existing building in the front,
No.
or out in the parking lot or anything like
No,
that?
I talked to Shepherd Envelope, which he bought his property 15 years ago, and he owns around me. And I know it's not on my property, but they drilled all around my property on his parking lot, and it was all clean. We did the oil separator when we opened that up, because I've heard things too, and that was all clean. There's really never, I haven't.
When you say you did an oil you put one in this area in some place?
No, there was one existing already. And
Out in the open?
it's on the, on this front island right here is the tank.
Where's Southbridge?
Southbridge Street right here.
Yeah, in this
that-
building?
Right in the corner of the-
Yeah, this little, it looks like a flower pot.
Yeah.
This thing right there.
It's right there. So there was a oil water separator.
'Cause that was a garage for years.
No, I know, yeah.
The 21E just protects you, you know,
Right.
so,
Not now, he already owns it.
yeah.
All right. And I mean,
But,
I don't have
but
a
to
mortgage on
preclude-
that. I own it outright, and if, to be, you know, if we're, whatever,
It's true.
when the house is removed, whatever we're digging up is going into where the hole is for the house, so there's nothing leaving the property anyways.
But, you know, you might want to do a 21E
Right.
just so that you catch where it is now and make sure that it doesn't go any further, or you show that it was at this point,
Okay.
and then, you know, you're caught there, you know?
Right.
You've got a designation as at this point, and then you can check it against something later to see if it gets worse, or if someone calls on you to do it.
Okay.
You can say, when I got it, it was like this and whatever.
Right. Okay.
It's for your protection. Yeah,
That was an auction property, right?
it was, yeah.
But
The town
bank
owned it, right?
Sure the bank didn't do one?
No, the bank didn't do it, no.
I'm shocked.
I wrote a check. So there was no bank involved.
Yeah, the town auctioned that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The town auctioned
Yeah,
it?
the town auctioned it, yeah.
They took it for back taxes,
Yeah.
Well, town had used it for quite a while, because when I bought it, there was all town
Garage.
equipment inside, and trucks and sweepers and stuff like that, so they were using it for support, storage.
Town would never do it. Don't do it.
So I know I have some homework to do. Obviously, would be to develop that stormwater plan. But again, just to kind of, again, to be a little selfish, is there any angst on the board, from any of the members of the board, on kind of the big picture here, but leaving some of that, what I show as white area on that plan as pervious area, and not having to pave it and stripe it?
To the chair, Adam, do we have the ability to require some sort of deed restriction if usage were to change, that they would comply with the parking? I mean, it's a stretch.
I think it could require something if the use changes. I can do some homework myself on to see what could be allowed.
You can certainly condition them by saying that, if let's say, in the future, he's going to take that front building and put a marijuana facility in it, which could be a four-letter word, but, the change of use has to go back in front of the building. The change of use probably has to come back in front of this board, maybe the zoning board. So there's certainly mechanisms that if there's going to be a change in the property, and so a condition of that, again, I'm not going to speak for the property owner, but a condition I think would be warranted, that, hey, if he puts something in here that's got a lot more
So
parking to it.
you're saying
then
you want to leave some impervious, and you want to have some paved?
We want to leave what's paved now paved. We want to leave what's pervious now as pervious.
And when the house comes down, you want to leave that pervious.
Pervious
So you
as
don't
well.
want to have to gravel it.
Correct.
Because if there's
No,
anything
we
that's...
gravel it, we don't want to pave it.
You don't want to pave it.
Yep.
If it's not paved, you can't park on it.
Correct.
Because we'll want everything that's paved to go into a oil and water separator, or what they've already got with...
Yeah, it's got to be unpaved, yeah.
Okay, so you can't park the trucks and vehicles on unpaved, that isn't directed into an oil and water separator.
Well, we were here a few years ago, and we started this whole hearing about the truck, the auto mechanic being in there. You guys had just, if you look at the area view, the little gray area from Southbridge Street up was the first area that's all you required at the time. And since then, I've paved more of it, and nothing has changed. So I'm just wondering why there's a difference now that it all had to be paved, where in the past, we just had to pave
Not
that.
saying
Well, you
it all
don't
has
have
to
to
be
pave it,
paved.
but if it is paved, but if it's not paved, you can't park equipment
On it.
or, customers or anything on it.
I think that's his question, when it was only a driveway apron paved for years, that,
Well, that doesn't matter what it was before he came.
no, but the board allowed for parking on the gravel for the mechanic that was there a few years ago. Is that your question? Yes, sir.
Well, actually,
Who's
the
I
mechanic
don't-
was pulling the vehicles into this building to repair.
Right, but if you have guys dropping trucks off, they park them out back here. This is all gravel. Now, do you own the side to the right of the building in the aerial photo at all, where these cars are parked?
No.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's a...
No, it is-
Yeah, it
there's-
doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's changing, and it's required.
Okay, that's fine, and
Yeah.
I added the pavement, and it's more than covers it. So basically, nothing's changing from my business to his business, as far as there's no more extra vehicles on the property, there's no extra equipment.
Do you have drainage in this lot, in any of this paved area?
No, sir. There was existing pavement underneath. There was existing pavement, and when I talked to Caleb, he said it'd be almost a repair of the parking lot, because there was pavement there. Even in the back where it looks like the pavement's not there, if you kick it with your foot, there's pavement under there. And so he said it would be essentially in a repair.
Well, we're in an aquifer zone,
Yes.
but do you know what aquifer zone it is? Or can-
Two.
Two? And each one has different restrictions, and you're not knowing if you have any, drainage or oil and water separators out there or anything like that, or where your drainage is. We're gonna have to look at that. You're gonna have to look at that somehow.
Bill's gonna wanna look at this too.
And Bill will wanna look at it. I mean, we have to.
Yeah, no, and he's been on,
And maybe there's something that was there prior to, but I don't know.
as far as the,
Is there being some stormwater or parking lot drainage, but Scabone, John, do you think he always had it as gravel?
As far as I
Oh,
remember,
you say
it
there was
gravel.
asphalt,
It
you
might have
find
been patchy.
remnants.
It's remnants of that.
Remnants of
When
it.
I bought it, it was trees on top of, they had grown up on top of the asphalt. You couldn't even see the house when I bought it. It was a jungle. And Bill Coyle's been, I assume that's who you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's been on the property.
Well, we'll have to check with him, Adam, to talk about the drainage for the
Yeah.
oil and water.
There'll be some hoops to jump through, but, you know, it's the way it is. It's an aquifer zone, so. And it's changing. But we're thrilled that, you know, business is so good and, you know, that there's opportunity here.
Steve, any questions? Heck,
Not at this time.
John,
I got a few.
go ahead.
You show the approximate location for the sewer that's gonna go to the back building. What about water?
Well, that's where I talked to the water department. Somehow, the existing house is fed. Nobody really has any records on how it is at. So what I've shown on the plan and kind of added the note is we're going to figure out where that is. We're going to grab that and extend it to the building. And I did talk to somebody at the water department. I have his name in my notes and said, yep, it's all going to be predicated on, once we do find it, what size it is, what shape it's in.
I
So
think
they'll
you'll
have
find
to-
it's gonna go right into the existing garage.
Well, the water, the meter itself is in the house, in the basement of the house.
Yeah.
And that's where it's,
But I bet the water comes right off of the other building. If I know Timmy Scavone.
Probably a chicken and the egg thing. It might have come into the house and then he extended it here. But yeah, we're gonna have to kind of do the little bit of braille
Either
method
way,
and find that out, so.
yeah.
But I did, like I said, I did try to put something on the plan that shows what we're going to do.
The water department ought to be able to put a M-scope on the service and trace it back to wherever it goes, whether it goes out to Southbridge Street or into the next building or where it might go.
the shut-off was across the street. So when they turned the
Yeah.
water on, they turned it on in front of Wood Nelson.
Yeah, the main is on
Southbridge
the,
Street.
main is on the far side of Southbridge Street.
So it comes fed off of, I don't know if that's Auburn Water or Elm Hill.
It's Elm Hill.
Elm Hill.
Elm Hill.
Yes.
So the shut-off is across the street where,
Where Nelson is.
yeah.
Where Kesley and Moss was.
Yeah, it was right about in the air.
Anybody notice if it shut off the water to the building? The old garage as well, when you shut it off?
Oh, when they turned it on.
You turned it on, you're telling us.
Yeah, they turned it on,
You
yeah.
turned it on to get the water in the house.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I think what John was saying is, did it turn, does the building have water?
It does, yes.
It may very well come in there and go from there
He
to
may
the
have had a
house.
service across the street, because I know that when he put the house there, he didn't dig across Southbridge Street to put a service in. I know he didn't. So it may have been an existing service he tied into on the end of the driveway.
He said it's got a separate meter when it's in there.
He ties into the other service before it hits the other building, but it have a separate meter too. It was before the other meter. But anyway, that's neither here nor there now. Yeah, I got a few questions. I see the utility crossing detail, and everybody likes to put crushed stone. I don't even know if you're gonna be crossing any utilities.
Yeah, it's just kind of a standard detail we throw on there, but
Yeah.
I will take your comment.
The problem is, you can't compact under the pipe. You can shake it with stone, it's still gonna settle, it's still gonna break. I always recommend CDF, it's cheap insurance. And then, on your water main trench, this probably isn't gonna happen, but it's on your detail. You can't do your detail, because water mains are generally 5 feet deep. So sheeting is required and to be cut off 5 feet below ground and a minimum of 1 foot above the top of the pipe. How do you do that? You can't.
We're not going to need sheeting here, but I will take a peek at that.
And then, you're not the first one to do this, but hopefully someone that listens to or watches this thing, if I see another LeBaron cover, I'm gonna scream. You guys all know they don't exist anymore. Jordan Iron Works bottom out.
And the policies and procedures.
Says or approved equal.
Well, they don't exist. There is no equal.
Read that a few times.
Is that what you do in court?
Yes.
That's my from the DPW.
That's all I say.
Thanks.
Wendy?
I'm all set.
I'm all set.
So,
So you want to,
peer review.
So I'll be in touch with, I'll be in touch with the peer review and the stormwater and the other questions. We'll relay everything to the reviewer and to the town engineer.
Talk to town engineer.
The town engineer is the review engineer, or?
No.
That's peer review is someone we
Yep.
select, we pay, but the town engineer is our own town engineer that reviews it for us and adds
Okay.
his thoughts.
the building's done a complete review before, depending on the size of the site and how busy he is.
Right.
Yeah, he doesn't have time to.
Right, it
full
always
review.
depends on how busy he is.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that that was, is this something I can go, we can maybe set up a meeting with Bill?
Yeah, we can try to work something out.
I know.
Through the schedules.
I know it's kind of crazy and stuff, but maybe do my own due diligence before I come back in front of you guys.
You want to continue now? We got one January 8th, we got one January 22nd.
Give you a month.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'd love to grab the January 8th date, but obviously with the holidays, I don't know if meeting with Graves and everybody else, that's gonna be doable. I don't wanna take a spot up on your 8th agenda, but if there's something that maybe we could put a placeholder in and a week before I can cancel or something, if for some reason we don't get everything done.
You can't put a placeholder for the 8th, and if you let him know ahead of time, we can vote on the continuance at the
Continue
beginning
at
of
the
the meeting.
9th.
Okay.
You don't even have to be here.
Oh, okay, if that's amenable to the board, that, in
It's fine.
case all the ducks in a row.
Yeah, but let him
fall in.
know.
Yeah, I definitely will. I'm going to be, I owe him some paperwork about the review, the peer review anyways, and maybe try to set up a meeting with Bill to try to do a couple of these things, so.
Talk to him about the drainage, because we're going to talk to him
That's-
also.
I would like to get his input and
We don't want to let it go and then find out we needed to have drainage or whatever.
January 3rd would be the date to have all the documents in.
Okay.
And you're cleared to have all the documents in for the January 8th meeting. All right. Motion to continue to January, you said 8th?
Yeah. Yes.
January 8th?
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. See you January 2nd.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
New Year.
Happy holidays, Happy New Year, Merry
Yeah.
Christmas.
Appreciate your time, thank you.
We can say that.
I know. Well, I always say that.
And Adam, I'll be in touch.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah, right, where am I going?
Yeah, where are you going?
Yeah.
I didn't mean my cousin. Okay.
I think we gotta start putting on my emails the deadline for all submittals for the meetings.
Absolutely.
That's a good idea.
And see if we can get it on the website.
Not waste time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you feel bad,
Have
but
anything else
you
to
can't
discuss?
review stuff a day.
Number discussion, nope. Nothing else, Adam?
Zach,
Oh, it's 9 o'clock.
The rest of them will go.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It is a vote.
Sorry.